Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're listening. Welcome back to AI and the Future of Work. Thanks again for making this one of the most downloaded podcasts about the future of work. If you enjoy what we do, please like, comment, rate, and share in your favorite podcast app, and we'll keep sharing great conversations. I'm your host, Dan Turchin, advisor at Insight Finder, the system of intelligence for IT operations, and CEO of PeopleRain, the AI platform for IT and HR employee service. Now, the most expensive and inefficient way to engage customers is by having them speak with a live service agent who frequently places them on hold, creates a ticket, and then promises to follow up. By contrast, the easiest way to engage them is using existing sources of knowledge to find answers to their questions automatically using natural language. We've always known that's the best experience, but until recently, we just haven't had the combination of NLP technology or machine learning infrastructure to automate the entire process. Today's guest is developing that technology that's required to make customer experiences with bots feel more like conversations with the best live agents. The insight behind companies like Got It AI is that the best answer to every customer question already lives in existing knowledge articles or maybe historical tickets. Finding it can be tricky, but there should be a reliable way to turn data into answers in real time using natural language. Chandra Khatri is the chief scientist and head of AI at Got It AI, which develops tools for customer experience management. Chandra's at the forefront of NLP research, having spent time in senior AI engineering roles at Uber and Amazon after having received his master's in machine learning from Georgia Tech and his undergrad from BITS Pilani in 2012. Without further ado, Chandra, welcome to AI and the Future of Work. Let's get started by having you share maybe a little bit more about your background and how you got excited about this space.
Thanks, Dan, for the introduction and also for the invitation. So about myself, you already gave a good background on what I've been doing. But to talk about my journey, I have been in this AI space for over a decade now, and particularly in the area of conversational AI and NLP for almost I would say close to a decade. So the journey began when I was at Georgia Tech, and over there I was building some of the applications in NLP. And then there was a sudden rise of conversational AI technology such as Alexa in 2014, 15. It was around that time I saw that this area of NLP and conversational AI is becoming big, and consumer space is just the area where things are starting up, but the impact is going to be almost in every vertical. It will be in IT, it will be in healthcare, it will be in HR. There is no vertical which will not be impacted by this, and that led to the my journey so far. I was the founding member of eBay's conversational group, and then jumped on to Alexa AI, being the founding member of Alexa Prize. So that was a grateful experience for me. Alexa AI and Alexa Prize. We built a lot of good stuff there. And then after that, I, along with some of the leading experts in conversational AI, we formed a conversational AI group at Uber AI, where we built some of the conversational applications for drivers and riders at Uber, and which is very important because in Uber, while drivers are riding their cars, or any vehicle, we have to sort of empower them so that they are safe, and also they can. And some countries have, legally they're not required to interact with the phone or interact with the, let's say, riders while they're driving, right? So we wanted to make this application very easy for them, and that's why we built a lot of these conversational AI applications for them. And then it was around that time I met with Peter Allen, who is the chairman of Got It AI. He asked me a question. Well, what if you want to build autonomous conversational AI system? What is needed? So I told him, it's in the near term it was not possible, or it was not there because the way this entire ecosystem is built. But there is a way, and luckily Transformers technology happened to come, and we chatted and chatted, and I started advising, and finally I joined a few years ago, and then we have built world's first fully autonomous conversational AI system. But by that, what it means is that, as you said, we can build a conversational experience out of any historical logs. It could be email tickets, it could be chat, it could be voice transcripts or voice logs, or it could be even FAQ articles. What we do is we consume any kind of interactions, historical logs or interaction or existing data such as articles, FAQs, we consume them, or our technology consumes them and automatically gives you a conversational experience, which typically takes weeks to months for enterprise and many, many months for actually large enterprise. We give that experience within few hours, few minutes, few hours to few days max. So that is our technology that we are aiming and we have built, and that is what we're going after.
Before Got It AI, you were at three of the most iconic AI cultures or early leaders in AI in eBay, Amazon, and Uber. Tell us about the different ways that technology gets developed there and what you learned from the cultures there as you took over the role at Got It AI.
Oh, that's a great question. So I would say I've been in different eras of AI. So eBay was one of those where the application around 2013, 2014, 2012, that was a time of recommendation system. Most of the AI and machine learning was for search, ranking, better search. That was the era. So I've been in those that time where that's where the AI was. Then when I was at Amazon, Alexa, when we were founding main or building blocks of Alexa, at that time the technology was slightly shifting towards more conversational and consumer oriented applications of NLP. So therefore the product was different, the experience was different, the interface was voice. And as you know, since 2017, 16, gig economy happened to come into picture. Uber, Lyft, Instacart, bunch of other of these, gig economies are coming up. So Uber was that experience where the applications moved from not only AI applications, what you see as a through your devices, it was more towards the entire ecosystem and operations, right? So now AI moved or machine learning moved from search ranking to conversational experience of products, now to more operations as well. And the next wave, which I am right now at Got It AI, is making almost even executives and large enterprise more powerful because these companies do not have any AI capabilities. The idea is to take AI from operations to the entire supply chain, entire chain, right? And those application area could be IT, healthcare, bunch of others, HR, as you mentioned, right? So these are the different verticals we are going to empower them more and more. And the technology, if you see, is moving from in 2014, 13, before that, the technology was centered only towards large companies. eBay used to be big at that time, or Google or Facebook, So the technology was there only in the hands of those, right? Then 16, 17, open source happened to come like in AI space. And now it is, now there is no code AI stuff, which is making everyone, which is empowering almost everyone. And soon there are more technologies coming up, such as what we built at Got It AI, that will empower even CIOs or product officers or PMs, because then they who do not have as hands-on in technology, they will be able to build all these tools with underlying AI doing the work. So that's where technology has evolved. In terms of culture, I would say all of the companies have different cultures. In fact, before eBay, I was at Oracle. Oracle was even it was before my grad school. So I've seen different wave and different way people have interacted the entire ecosystem. So I would say each company has given me a different perspective. For example, eBay gave me a perspective on how to optimize on rankings, how to optimize on the last few bids. The final layer of only 0.1%, 0.2%, that kind of improvement. Amazon kind of gave me a perspective of leadership principles, as Amazon is known for its leadership principles, how to take a big idea and break it down, and then through how to sort of lead with your team in terms of how to live leadership principles. That Amazon lives by, especially also around their documentation, the way they do PR FAQs and stuff like that. And then when I was at Uber, the culture of Uber at that time was how to be more and more uh, 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 equal, or I would say how to make this entire community of riders, drivers, in fact users and everyone, how to take everyone together. Now again, I was moving more towards that kind of culture where we want to respect everyone, and a lot of things have happened. And then at Got It AI, the culture again, it's entrepreneurial, so I'm learning just everything, from business development to even recruitment, HR. It's like startup is its own different journey where I'm almost playing different hats, or having different hats, or playing different roles in a way.
Now, all AI is really a data problem. And at eBay and Amazon and Uber, you had a big data problem. By contrast, I'm going to guess that it got at AI when you're dealing with enterprise problems, you have a small data problem. Talk to us about the challenges when you have less data. How do you build reliable, scalable AI without the benefit of limitless amounts of data like you had at those big companies?
Great question. And in fact, timing wise, this question becomes more relevant because uh, you see, as you pointed out, before 2017-18, technology was centered with, or was with only large companies which had data. Now, with open source and tools like Hugging Face and bunch of other open source tools, PyTorch, TensorFlow, they and a lot of open source data available. Because of the web, people can train NLP models on the data on the web, Wikipedia, Reddit, etc. On image, there is so much data on the web now. So data has not become as big of a problem if the applications are general applications, right? But as we tend to go for more specific applications for enterprise, data becomes a problem still. So how, let's say, if I want to have an autonomous system for, let's say, healthcare, how will I build it if I don't know their vocabulary? How will I know if I don't have the access to their schema? So that's where this new transfer learning technologies come into picture. So these days, what is happening is we, as a researchers, we train or large models or on public data sets or using state-of-the-art technologies. And then what we do is something like transfer learning. We take that technology and we only fine tune or just modify a little bit for the end user enterprise. There still is a gap, but we just want to make that minimal change. And I give this example often. Like for example, pizza. Take a pizza. So Italians or maybe even Greeks, some say, but they have cracked the problem of the how to make the pizza. So you know the base, you know what goes into it. There's bread, there's cheese, there's sauce. But now people can take that and make variations of those, right? So some people might like sausage on top. Some people might like veggies on top. So the base is that base part is common. It's available to everyone. That knowledge is available. Those models are available. Now people just can put their toppings on the top, whatever the toppings they like or they prefer. So that is what is happening now. So data is still a problem, but it is for the final milestones or the last leg, or when we need to make these applications for those enterprise, and that also relies on heavy data or larger data, but it's not in the orders of millions of samples. These days it's in the order of thousands or maybe even hundreds, depending on the kind of problem.
Almost all of us that have spent time around NLP technology in the enterprise have been frustrated because of the slow adoption. What do you think is holding back broader NLP adoption in the enterprise? Is it the technology? Is it cultural? Is it something else? And to the extent you may not even agree with that statement, but it's certainly something I felt in over the last decade. Would love to get your perspective on that.
That's a great question. In fact, that is the fundamental to, in fact, very close to even us, like Got AI. So I would say the biggest reason for not active adoption is ease of use. So CIOs, executives, in fact, sometimes even investors, they know what the problem is, right? Like they know application and end user problem. They know their problem very well. In fact, they know their space and industry very well. And technologists who are building, like open source community or scientists and engineers, they are building technologies, but there's a big gap in the middle, and that gap leads to a not great ease of use, a not great experience. So that gap is leading to not as much or as smooth adoption of this technology. So technology is there actually, the kind of technology that we have today can address a lot of the problems which CIOs or executives already have, just that it is not happening or the pace is slower because people in the middle, that funnel is missing. Either people who from the product mindset, they are not getting deep into AI, or from PM. And that's for this, you might have heard of this new roles coming up, which was not there before, called technology program manager, technical program manager. These kind of field is coming up a lot, and it will continue to grow because there's a gap between product and executives and engineers or scientists. And these are the people who actually understand technology high level, and they also know the application will get to learn. So And that is so this is one solution or where things are going. Another one is no code AI. So you might have heard of a lot of these no code AI companies coming up, Airtable, bunch of other companies. In fact, even Call AI is no code AI. What is happening is executives, they don't need to know, or the program managers or leaders, they don't need to really know the AI part of it. They just need to know what needs to be done, or they just need to know what their problem is. So how to feed the data has been now automated, and they just need to connect with their APIs wherever the data is. It's in AWS or Snowflake, etc. Then second thing is, what kind of application do they need? So for that, there are these no code UI tools. So a lot of these no code AI companies, they just begun, I would say. They will make it much more easy in the next 3 4 5 years. Things will become even more easy for them. So adoption will be more, because now what is happening is, the executives, they don't need to really learn AI. They just need to know these tools. AI will automatically update with time, right? So that's what even we do at AI. So we have this discovery models, as I told you, like we automatically build the system and automatically build the bots. What product people or executives or they need to do is, they just need to make sure that whatever the recommendations are, those are relevant for their business. Or if some minor changes are there, they can simply do it via UI. Like they can simply make some tweaks here and there in the UI, or using some tool, or maybe one or two developers, not as much, right? To make some connections or integrations, etc. Not the army of engineers. So that gap with this no code AI will get reduced. That is from the executive side, or program or product side. But from the execution side, this kind roles, kind TPM, those kind of roles will actually bridge the gap between engineers and the product.
Let's build on that. So assuming the quality of the NLP is not the problem, it's really the quality of the user experience. And assuming there is this new role, the TPM, technical product manager, exists, what is the optimal user experience that we're missing today?
I would say there are some applications which have adopted these technologies more, and some application or some domains that has not been the case. For example, uh, if you look at healthcare, these technologies could empower healthcare much more, but given the responsibility and given the legal system and also different aspects of healthcare, the adoption has not been as much. Same thing with government, and same thing with defense as well, right? So I would say, and there are some domains which are healthy adopter. For example, e-commerce, right? That's why you see Airtable. That's why you see drag and drop UI, or building these days, especially after pandemic, building a website, building a business is just matter of clicks, right? You just need to know your tools. You just need to make sure you're managing your inventory and maintaining your inventory via tools like Airtable. So essentially, what is happening is that some domains have been early adopters because of maybe it's a pandemic or whatever, and also that domains, people, there is less constraint and they're more eager, and they know what they need to do. So people tend to do that way. But other verticals, there has been a lesser adoption. So I would say, to your question, what will happen or what could happen is that the domains which have adopted these state of the art technologies, they will guide, and they will also bring up the issues which other domains should be careful of. For example, PII has been a big problem. Private, bunch of these things have been becoming problem, even ethical issues. So these other domains will bring those up. So before when we get to healthcare, or other domains which are more critical, such as defense and all those, they will, before these applications get there, these kind of problems will be addressed. And by that time, once these problems are figured out, they will also adopt these technologies.
So I know you're on the cutting edge of NLP research, and I saw you've done some exploration into a technology you mentioned, transformers. Explain to our audience, how are transformers being used in the field of NLP, and any other advancements in NLP that you're seeing on the front lines of research?
Transformers, as the name is rightly said. So I would say, so if I were to explain transformers in layman's term, it will be, I can give an example of pizza. Same example. You know, Transformers, it's a technology or very well used when you have pre-trained models. So, for example, I can train lots and lots of pre-trained models for different applications. One could be computer vision, one could be, let's say, NLP, another one could be, let's say, robotics. So, what transformers are great at is, you provide lots and lots of data, and or even within NLP, you can have one vertical could be healthcare, another vertical could be HR, another one could be IT. So there's one company in Moveworks, right? They're doing pretty well in the IT. There are companies in healthcare as well. So in HR, there are a couple of companies which are building bots and stuff or NLP applications for health for HR. So what is happening is transformers is that building block which you can train with lots and lots of data available or data in that particular application or domain. And once you do that, then you can only fine tune with some samples. So, for example, if I take a bot for IT, let's say MoveWorks, I can simply now tweak it to company like Nutanix. I can tweak it to company like Facebook. I can tweak it a little bit for the company like Google. So essentially, what is happening is you take this core piece, which is for this domain or this application, and only fine tune for certain end user use cases, and that's transformers. So transformers essentially is the building block for greatly for fine tuning of our training. You pre-train them and then you use it for different applications. On the computer vision side, what transformers is same thing. It's that you have trained a really good model, transformers pre-trained model on identifying objects. So it might be able to identify, let's say, cats, dogs, elephants, or maybe even trees, humans, right? Cars. Now, but it might not do as well on what type of car it is. Is it a Mercedes? Is it a Porsche? Bunch of other BMW. So what you do is you basically take those transform model and now only give few examples in the end for different. It's Subaru, or it will do all this kind of classification with few examples here and there. So it already knows that these are cars, but it does not know what brand of that car is, right? So that's what transformers do. Transformers is that technology where you fine tune train. And good thing about transformers is that it is mostly driven by open source community. So they're available. All of these models are available. So even if as a researcher or as a company or anyone wants to use it, I don't need to train from scratch. I can simply take it and only give a few examples for my application, and then that's it. Otherwise, to get to this point, it used to be 6 months to 1 year cycle, which now only takes a few days, or maybe depending on if it's enterprise, maybe a week. So what used to take a year or more than a year for enterprise, now it is taking only a few days to a week, because now you already have this, as I said, pizza base available. I just need to get my toppings and then put those toppings on what I like on my application.
You mentioned PII, personally identifiable information, a bit ago. I'm interested as a technologist. What are the ethical issues in and around AI, whether it's data, algorithms, etc., that most concern you?
I would say the most important aspect is that we have been, or community has been running fast, or something like this. Facebook has this quote: "Move fast and break things." That has been the I will not say mindset, but I would say rather approach. So researchers, because they work in silos, or people who build technology, they work in silos, and they try to empower as many people as they can, right? But given that the same technology can have adverse impact, those things are well taken care of because they're trying to empower. The more you try to empower with tools and ease of, as these tools are more available, people can misuse them, right? So, for example, share how to use chemicals, chemical work with another chemical, all of this. Once you make this information very like everyone has access to, and also with tools, people can make bad stuff out of it or something which is dangerous, such as chemical bombs and stuff like that, right? So, point is that the more you empower, it's not like researchers are trying to build those things. Researchers are trying to make everyone empowered. They're trying to empower everyone, right? But they could be used for adverse effects, and that's what is happening with PII. Or not PII is one example, but that is what is happening with technology as well. So what can be done is that now that we have built this technology, we know that we are already at the forefront of where things are and they will be. So now a large group and people who lead these groups, they should come together, and they should it would be good for them to come up with guidelines on how to what to open source, how to open source, or maybe you want to open source everything, but access of that one could be case by case basis, right? Or maybe the people who are using it, they should be licensed. We have GPL license, we have a bunch of license, right? So that way, people are using this information or these models in a good way. And now that is the what I just said is the problem of the application, but not in the generation or building of these models, right? When you build these models, there is other aspects to it. So from that point of view, what researchers can do is they can clean the data in advance, right? Or they can have another set of models which flags the data, which could be biased, which could have PII, which could have other kind of these potential adverse aspects to it. So we can identify those and then a human in the loop can further remove it or clean it up or whatever, right? Model can do a large part of it, but again, human in the loop can do the final verification. And once that is done, then they can start training the models. And that is what is happening these days now. Even companies such as OpenAI, Google, Facebook, they have built large language models such as GPT-3, etc., etc. What they're doing is now they have even Google, they have built a large set of steps, or they've shared a list of steps which they account for before this data goes into production or into the modeling. In fact, even if the model is trained, then there is a test set which we can create, and a lot of people are creating. In fact, we at Got AI, we also create a test set where we explicitly look for whether this model is doing the right thing. Whether is it biased or not? Is it generating any PII, right? So we have those test sets where we try to account for and make sure that this model meets all those requirements, and then only we push into production. So it's a responsibility of everyone, the ecosystem, researchers, and also people who are using and consuming them in applications. So I think I would say it has to, all of us will have to come together and play our part to make sure that the applications that we are building are safe.
So let's say hypothetically, Got AI makes a recommendation that causes harm to an end user. They use a product the wrong way, they buy the wrong product, whatever it is, but there's actually some tangible harm. And let's say, again, hypothetical, but the data that was sourced by the customer is of poor hygiene. It's biased, it's inconsistent, whatever the case may be. Who is responsible? Is it the provider of the algorithm, the provider of the data, the system that builds the model? I mean, not that it matters who's responsible. What's most important is not harming a customer. But how do you unpack that as a technologist?
So then it's a great question, especially relevant to how we do at Got AI. But let's try to look at the fundamental problem of how learning works. So if you take kids, for example, kids, their parents and people around them, they try to make things as safe as possible for them. Especially you take a kid of, let's say, 2 years or 18 months, right? They're learning, they're just trying to explore everything around them, right? So however, checks and balance which their parents or people around them try to make, every once in a while, things happen, right? So AI is also like that. It is still developing. It's not ready there yet, and especially in the kind of applications which we are dealing with these days. AI is there, applications are there, but still they're in the early stages. So what we have to do is to try to give as much feedback as possible, try to make the system as much, try to have enough checks and balances. And if every once in a while, when we see that they are not doing a good thing, then we go and then we give them feedback. So what we do at Got AI is something similar, because you sort of brought this up. Our approach is to discover from historical logs, historical interactions of emails, voice logs, chat logs, and even articles. So what we do is we discover from the data, the real data, right? So all kind of anomalies would have been taken care of, biases would have been addressed, and a lot of these real applications scenario might have been addressed largely. But which is kind of different from almost every other company in this space, where they manually design the flows and manually provide the data, which is very limited. So because we discover from real conversations, we address them way ahead in advance, as opposed to when they appear once the application is deployed. So that is one approach that is unique, and that actually address a large portion of these issues, or large percentage of these issues. And but every once in a while things go bad, or therefore we have this feedback loop. So the moment if AI did not behave as it was supposed to be, we have this active learning loop which learns from the scenario where it did not do well on, and next time it will try to pick it up, and then it will learn from it, and therefore it will not be repeating the same mistake. And I think that is what is happening across other applications as well. But there's a big gap. Not everyone has this active learning loop, and what we need is a good feedback loop where people or end users, they are giving us feedback, and AI researchers or designers, engineers, they take that feedback and update the system as quickly as possible.
So Chandra, I got to get you off the hot seat. We're about out of time, but you got to answer one last question for me. So given what you know about what's ahead in terms of NLP and kind of broader AI technology, what's one thing that you think will be commonplace at work, let's say in 10 years? You know, we're having a version of this conversation in 2032. What are we doing then that would seem like science fiction today?
I would say AI will be ubiquitous. I mean, it will be teaching students, teaching kids. It will be, and the teaching will not end just or will not stop at university level. The teaching will go even at offices, right? Or people will be using AI for coding, which has already started, but not as good right now. But AI will be like a tool, and so in if you were to ask me, AI will be a tool which even common people, or not common people, people who are not AI expert, even they will be using it. So it will be available to almost everyone in the form of education for learning, for their own applications, for their own tasks which they do, and that is what AI will. So I would say it is more about this availability of these AI tools that will be very common, which today feels like science fiction because we have had this version of Jarvis in Iron Man or stuff like that. So that we will be getting close to that. The challenge will be how to have single AI. That's what the problem is. Currently we have a lot of AI applications, voice assistants built by Alexa, or uh, tools such as Godad AI is building, or education we have different tools. There will be different tools. So the common problem which I'm looking forward to is, would we be able to bring all of these things to single assistant, or single AI, or single AI communicating with all of them? That is something which I'm looking forward to. But in general, we will see AI applications everywhere and available to every end user.
Chandra, I'm looking forward to that future. That's pretty exciting, and I agree. I think that'll be here within the next decade. Let's see. Before I can let you go, where can the audience learn more about you and your work?
So they can. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So I mean, please feel free to reach out. I respond very quickly and then try to connect as much as I can. And of course, there is website where there is contact. Godad AI. You can reach out there. But generally, I'm available on LinkedIn. So
Excellent. Well, this is a fun conversation. Thanks for hanging out.
well, thanks Dan for the invitation, and I really enjoyed this interaction.
You bet. Well, that's a wrap for this week on AI and the Future of Work. I'm your host, Dan Turchin, but we are back next week with another fascinating guest.